Welcome back. I'm Kate Bowditch. I'm a hypnotherapist and a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm talking about the 7 pillars of wisdom for the therapist. Now, I've been in practice for about 20 plus years, and am still fascinated not only by the way our minds work us and also by how to think about being a therapist. So I'm reading, this is fifth, the fifth piece of the 7 pillars of wisdom for the therapist. And it's from my book, 2020 Insight, Advanced Theory and Practice of Hypnosis. There we are. I wrote it originally as a handbook, a workbook for students who might be studying hypnosis. But in fact, it is also very well received by anybody who is interested in the way the mind works, how their own personal mind works. So feel free to order it for yourself. You'll learn a lot about it. I cover everything from these 7 pillars of wisdom, which I called in the book, it's called Important Things, but through dreams, through what is the past life experience, what is the difference between the kinds of therapists that you might go to, just a whole bunch of stuff. So today is number 5. This 5th pillar of wisdom is to remember, O therapist and person of curiosity, there is no such thing as the past. The past does not exist. That's a really big block of wood to swallow, but it is true. You cannot go there. You cannot get in your car and drive to the house that you were raised in and find yourself there. It's got somebody else in it. They've painted it a different color. The trees are all cut down. Maybe they planted trees. Maybe they've cut it up into apartments. Maybe the bulldozer came and took it out, and it's now something entirely different. The past does not exist, and I'm going to read what I wrote because this is a very, very important part of the work that we do. There is no such thing as the past, except as each of us chooses to retain it in our memories. Our memories are where we store what we call the past. Because of this, we have infinite choices to remember what is valuable to us during any event and discard whatever we find useless or detrimental. This is at the heart of emotional healing, re-examining what we choose to keep and what we choose to discard, and learning to use these powers creatively. Now, what do I mean by that? Bad things happen, and we remember those bad things. Good things happen, and if we're lucky, we remember the good things. Somehow the bad things seem to burn themselves in a little bit more deeply. I'm not sure why that is, but it seems to be true. But if you can go back to a perceived memory and re-examine it, in particular with hypnosis, because that's the easiest pathway to those memories, you can re-examine them and pull from a memory something useful. And I'll give an example for myself. When I was in 3rd grade, I was hit by a car. And it was a very confusing business for me because I wound up switching hands. I was right-handed and I became left-handed for life. But I wasn't taken to the hospital, and my mother would never speak of it to me again. To her, it didn't happen. She had a way of just erasing things that didn't suit her. And I always had feelings about that. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Why won't anybody talk about it? I know I was a naughty girl. It has to be my fault. Yada, yada, yada. And that mean, mean man who hit me. Mean man, bad man. So, well, I was in 3rd grade. And because I had no way to process, I carried all that with me for years. And under hypnosis was able to go back and go through that again with a good hand beside me and realize that that poor man was beside himself with upset at what had happened. Nothing was broken, and he did everything wrong the way people do sometimes in a panic. He picked me up and ran down the block asking me where I lived. And my mother was on the porch, and she took one look at me and turned and walked into the living room. That I remember. And I always felt that she was angry with me. And under hypnosis, I realized that she too was terrified. And what she had done was to immediately call my father. Now that softened the whole thing for me. And yes, if my mother had been able to talk about it, it would have been softened years ago. But I softened it then. And the whole incident became much more human, much more processable. And now when I remember that time, I remember that nice and warm man who carried me to my mother, and my mother who got my father. And that's the difference. That's the big difference. So if you can really understand that if you're a therapist, you can present to your client the fact, the truth. There is no such thing as the past, except as we choose to remember it. And there are many, many instances. The stories are many, many, many about that. And as a person with a past, you have that right to go back and take a look and pull from it what is valuable and let that shine out over all that was really not very valuable to you. So I wish you well with that. The next time we get together, therapist and dear non-therapist, we will talk about learning everything you can about anything at all. So thank you, and I will see you again. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.